Portable consoles have been incredibly popular for a while now. Starting with the Game & Watch, Nintendo has spearheaded this technology for quite some time. However, one of their most successful consoles was the Game Boy Advance and its later revision, the Game Boy Advance SP. Hey, what is up guys? My name is Luke and welcome back to another episode of Techno Minute. Today's episode is the second installment of what I'm calling Retro Reviews, the series where we take a look at retro tech and seeing if it stacks up to the latest and the greatest. Now in today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Game Boy Advance SP, one of my favorite portable consoles, and seeing how well it's aged in the last 16 years since its creation. So all this in mind, let's jump right into the video. Alright, so before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes of Retro Reviews. So the Game Boy Advance was released back in 2001, and the SP revision was released 2 years later in 2003, with the main difference being a front-lit display. Now this is the version that most people remember. However, when the Game Boy Micro was released in 2005, Nintendo alongside this quietly revised the Game Boy Advance SP once again and added a backlit display. These models are known as the AGS 101 and are much harder to come across than the normal front-lit SPs. Now, apart from that difference, functionality was pretty much identical. You still had all the same games and the backwards compatibility was still there. However, the SP's design was much different than the original GBA, featuring a clamshell design that allowed you to tilt the screen when playing games. Now you could say that Nintendo was ahead of its time with the SP because, like many modern companies today, back in 2003 they removed the headphone jack from the Game Boy Advance SP. However, this wasn't the end of the world. With an adapter you could still use the headphones with the SP, it was just a lot more inconvenient. So in terms of the display, the SP shipped with a 16-bit RGB LCD that had a resolution of 240 by 160. However, on its almost 3-inch display, that resolution still looks just as fine today as it did 10 years ago. Now, one of the biggest gripes with the SP was its form factor. Because of the clamshell design, Nintendo opted to remove the more ergonomic feel of the previous Game Boy Advance. This left countless number of people feeling fatigue in their hands when playing for longer periods of time, and while I didn't necessarily notice this as a kid, today it's definitely an issue. This being said, the nicer display of the SP proved to be far more appealing than the normal Game Boy Advance, and this led to several modifications of the original Game Boy Advance. Hundreds of DIYers turned to making what is now referred to as the AGB 101. This mod took the SP's backlit display and adapted it to the more ergonomic design of the original Game Boy Advance. Alright, enough with the modifications. How does the SP still hold up today? Well, after searching for hours and hours, I finally was able to pick up two AGS 101 models, and let me just say, they are still as good as I remember them being. The buttons are tactile and satisfying, the battery life is amazing, and the overall look and feel just screams premium. Along with this, we have an incredible game library featuring games such as Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, all the way to Super Mario Advance 3 and 4. Also, the fact that backward compatibility is still there is amazing, and that alone opens up another huge game library. Apart from this, there really isn't else much to talk about except for the price. Now this is where these devices are held back a bit. I mentioned earlier that I spent quite a long time trying to find one of these guys, and unfortunately the AGS 101 versions are expensive and hard to find in good condition. A gently used backlit model can go anywhere from $70 to $150 to even $200. Now after weeks of searching, and I mean weeks, I finally found a killer deal on eBay from someone who didn't know the gems they had. I picked up two decent condition AGS 101 models for $70 total, making each around $35. Now this is an incredible find. However, if you're okay with the normal front-lit display, you can find them anywhere from $20 to $40. This is actually quite a good deal considering that when they were released, they retailed for around $99. At the end of the day, the Game Boy Advance SP is an incredible, portable, and just overall fun device. The simple design, excellent battery life, and phenomenal game library definitely makes this blast from the past worth the while. Alrighty, well that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to smash that like button and consider subscribing, as it really helps out the channel. Also, let me know when you got your Game Boy Advance and what your favorite game was to play as a kid, or maybe even as an adult. If you're liking this series, let me know what you would like me to review in the next installment of Retro Reviews. And as always, until next time, peace.